And I would like to welcome everybody to our speakers program for this evening. As most weeks, unless it's somebody I invite the faculty to come and talk briefly about the artists that they were interested in coming to our event. So tonight's artist is coming to us from Roxanne Robin. So Roxanne, I'll let you do the honors.
Okay, thank you. So I wanted to invite Denise for a lot of reasons. But the first reason was because I want our students to know that there are a lot of art jobs that people don't know about. Art is used in so many different ways, in so many different formats, and so many different areas of careers that people might not be familiar with. So I thought this is kind of an ideal chance to share with all the students a way that an artist who is capable not only in drawing and painting, but also has a strong interest in nature and science to bring those interests together and make a viable career. I've known Denise for a long time. I've been able to watch her career over a lifetime, really, because we met in the 4th grade. So we go way back. And so Denise and I actually went to all the same schools, and we both graduated from the University of Washington. Denise, you didn't graduate with an art degree, right? You did environmental science, right?
I changed my major. I started out in art, and then I changed my major to environmental studies, which was within the geography department.
Right. So she has a wide experience in different areas. I have to say is that Denise was always the smarter of us too, but I always had to keep up with her. So her artwork has evolved over time. She does figurative things. She does some other kinds of things that are less figurative. She loves to go out and do work from observation out in nature. And so it's really fun to see her portfolio, even beyond her, the work that she does for her clients. So she's a very well-rounded artist, and I think you really enjoy her work. And I hope that you ask lots of questions. And I look forward to seeing a lot of these images.
Okay. Hi, my name is Denise Dahn, and I'm an artist and a writer specializing in interpretive science. Today, I'm going to talk about my experience over a long career, including the type of work I did, what interpretation is, and then I'll show you some of my work. Oops, it's not advancing. Oh, technical issue.
Uh-oh.
There we go. Okay.
There you go.
I've been in business for many years, and I've done close to over 1,000 signs that are installed in parks all across the country, from Florida to Alaska. Most of the images I'm going to show you today are from about the last 10 years or so. My business is called Dahn Design, and for about the last 20 years, I've been a one-person company, working out of my studio in Seattle in the basement of my house. My business is somewhat unique in that I do all phases of the sign development myself: the research, writing, illustration, design. So just to review, I was telling you that I do all phases of the sign development myself: the research, writing, design, illustration, and ultimately the fabrication management. There are other companies around the country that do interpretive signs, but as far as I know, I'm the only one-person company. I typically work on multiple projects at any one time, anywhere from 5 to 15 different projects for different clients, such as the U.S. Forest Service, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Bureau of Land Management, state and local park departments, and private and nonprofit organizations. Each project often includes a series of 3 to 10 signs. So what exactly is interpretation? Most people have seen interpretive signs, but many people don't know what interpretation is. Some might even confuse it with language translation, which is a completely different field. Interpretation is a profession, and done well, it's also an art form. Interpretation is simply telling the story of a place. Interpretation as a profession has its roots in early tourism, particularly after World War II, when more people could afford cars and vacations, and they were eager to hit the road and visit national parks. What they saw there filled them with awe, and also lots of questions. So of course they went to the ranger, and soon the rangers in the National Park Service found themselves peppered with questions from thousands of visitors. They thought to themselves, there's got to be a better way. Maybe we should install some signs. Early signs had mixed results. Some were just simply strange, others ineffective. So park professionals from different agencies around the country organized and worked together to refine their work, and modern interpretation was born. They did studies, they formulated theories, and defined a set of principles. Interpretation should be relevant, meaningful, and message-driven. Often, telling the story of a place requires you to see it from multiple perspectives. This serene waterfront park was once a bustling industrial place. Interpretation brings that perspective to park visitors. But if you are a crab or a rockfish, the park is your home. And in the future, the park will be a refuge for wildlife and for people. And it will always be an enduring homeland for the people who have lived there for thousands of years. This is from a project I did in Olympia, Washington. Interpretation as an art form means finding the essence of a place and bringing it to life. The essence of this 4-sign project was ecological restoration, which is a common theme today. Ecological restoration essentially means fixing the mistakes of the past. In this case, the mistake was building a train track directly across the mouth of the stream, which affected the ecological health of the forest, the stream, the beach, and ultimately of Puget Sound, the water body the stream flows into. The fix was an enormous restoration project, reconnecting the stream to the sound. One sign showed the larger perspective of the connection of the urban area and the natural area. A detail zooms in for a closer view. Another sign establishes the before and the after. And a third, the benefits for wildlife, particularly Chinook salmon. The 4th sign reminds us of the bigger goal, the water quality in Puget Sound, also known as the Salish Sea. It's a home for people and wildlife and has been for thousands of years. This project was at Black Mesa State Park, which is in Oklahoma. Black Mesa is a distinctive landform, and the signs interpreted how the mesa was formed, a little bit about the pioneer history, the wildlife habitat, and also some fossilized dinosaur footprints. This detail of the illustration on the pioneer sign shows travelers on the Santa Fe Trail. When I was working on this, I had to do a lot of research to get it historically accurate. And I tried to also make it revealing in that I was trying to capture the sense of what it might have felt like for those people on that trail and be able to relate that to the visitors who were actually standing very close to this location. This was another project I did in Montana. This told the story of a tragic and legendary wildfire in 1949. The challenge was to tell the story accurately while also being sensitive to the survivors and their families. The lessons learned from this tragedy influenced how we fight fires today. And I still get people calling me and asking me if they can use these illustrations in their management seminars. The details show how the fire moved through the canyon and how the firefighters moved in response. The first one shows the men parachuting in. The second one shows the fire jumped down the canyon, trapping the men. The fire exploded and the men ran. And ultimately, only 3 men survived. It was a horrible tragedy. Thankfully, many of my projects are more lighthearted in nature. This project I did in Florida, the client came to me with a very specific goal. She wanted me to tell the story of 7 different habitats and a multitude of species, all in one painting. It was a big, complicated project, and it was a lot of fun. The goal was to tug on people's heartstrings and get them to care about Florida's nature. I'll zoom in and show you one of the easiest ways I can think of to do that is showing an animal caring for her young. And I guess alligators really do. This project in Colorado is located at a town famous for its mineral springs, which bubble up in drinking fountains all around town. This story was geological and historical. The client provided me with reference material, and I used that to create the illustrations to tell the story of how topography and geology work to create mineral springs. Each spring, and I think there were 9 of them, was quite different, and each was told from a slightly different angle. On some, I used historical photos to show how popular the springs were over time. This project is located in an urban area in Redmond, Washington, at a small but very important salmon stream that runs right through the city and very close to a freeway. And this is also a story of ecological restoration. But this one was pretty unique because during the restoration process, they accidentally uncovered some artifacts from the Ice Age that had the archaeologists very excited. My challenge was to tell this whole story and bring the discovery as well as the restoration to life. I also described the benefits of restoration for wildlife. And I'll zoom in on these little mussels there at the bottom, because it reminds me of how much I love this job, because I always learn new things about nature. I never knew that there were freshwater mussels in these streams and that they have a fascinating life history. They're becoming endangered, or they're in danger of being endangered, and they're very ecologically important. I think you should look them up. They're called Western pearl-shell mussels. This project was at a wildlife refuge in Colorado. And at this place, I discovered a little story about a big conflict between fish species. The fish on the right are pike, and they are ambush predators, and they hunt and try to eat the baby bass on the left. But the bass fathers stand guard to protect their babies. And they stay like that for several weeks until their young are out of danger. I just love learning stuff like that. This project in Washington State, they hired me to recreate a scene of a historic cabin that is in one of the parks. The client provided reference material, including these photos of the pioneer couple that lived in the cabin, and an old illustration from, I think, the Seattle Times of the scene they wanted me to redo. This is the painting that is finally on the sign. And up in the inset, you can see the actual signs installed there in front of the cabin. This is the one on the far right. And I did the illustration for them, and the client overlaid their own text over the top. That's why they're the big blank areas in the painting. I'll zoom in on that. This required a lot of research. There was a story to tell, and it had to be historically accurate. Many of my projects do involve historical subjects. I did a lot of work like this on Oregon Trail pioneers. I tried to make each illustration tell a story within a story. A big part of my business has been working with clients. Those are my clients there, some of them. And many of the projects involved a site visit. I went all over the country and met with agency staff from federal or state agencies that manage public lands. Some visits were quite memorable, like this one, flying into the Alaskan wilderness, sitting next to the pilot on a float plane where I was the only passenger. We went into the wilderness, and they dropped me off on the dock. The pilot turned around, took off, but there was no one there. My clients didn't meet me. I didn't have a cell phone, and it was a tiny little remote village that seemed deserted. I walked up the gravel road looking to find the Forest Service office, and I finally found it tucked back in the trees. And I did manage to meet up with my clients, and that's me there in the green jacket with my clients. And they took me on an amazing tour of the remote and wild old growth in the Tongass National Forest. This forest overlays a series of caves. And I ended up doing a large series of signs for them about the forests and caves in Southeast Alaska. Occasionally, I had clients who wanted to break the mold a bit, be more cutting edge, and use new thinking in our storytelling, in how we approach storytelling. This project took place in a rare piece of protected old growth near Mount Rainier. 4 of us spent several days in the forest, generating ideas trying to get to the essence of the forest. On the right is writer Amanda Adams, who specializes in creative fiction. This was one of the rare projects that I teamed up with the writer, and Amanda wrote all the text for this project, and I did all the artwork. I think we came up with something quite special and imaginative. A series of signs along a forest trail mounted on salvaged logs. In this project, the text and pictures were both looser and more contemplative than on most projects. Here we explored the relationship between the mountain, that's Mount Rainier, the river, the White River, and the forest, creating an atmosphere of wonder and curiosity, inspiring people to look closer, and encouraging people to form an emotional connection with nature. This project also included a printed storybook intended for kids. They sell these in the gift shop. It was written by Amanda and illustrated by me. On the right, you'll see one of the illustrations from the book, and on the left are the two reference photos I used to create the illustration. One is a neighbor girl who posed for me, and another is one of my photos from the forest. And that is a watercolor painting. There was a whole book full of them. So I've shown you a lot of finished work. Now I'll talk a little bit about how I start a project. I do a lot of research. I jot ideas and organize things into chunks. And then as I move through the process of design and illustration and text, I continually refer back to my original notes. And amazingly, these help me a lot. This is an example of a preliminary sketch I did. Actually, this one was done for that archaeological discovery project that I showed you a little bit earlier. This was intended to show some Ice Age hunters and the individual who is making some stone tools, which is what the artifacts that they actually found. This was the preliminary sketch. Whoops. I later refined that in pencil, painted it in watercolor. Then I painted the background. I also painted some mammoths. These are Columbia mammoths, so they're different than the woolly mammoths, the really hairy ones that you're used to seeing. These are a little bit more like elephants, but they were in Washington State and it actually around a lot of North America in Ice Age. I scan everything, layer it together in Photoshop and Illustrator. And then for this project, I was asked to remove the mammoths and the hunters from the illustration. Whoops. So I did. There they are, they're gone. This is the final version of the image on the sign. And the reason I did this was because the local Native American tribe who lives in this area and has lived here since time immemorial and traces their ancestry to this very place and these people, they asked me to remove them. And I did, and I didn't ask them why, but I suspect that those mammoths and hunters that looked like that didn't fit their own tribal story of this place. And these stories that Native Americans have go back for centuries, thousands of years. They're very old and very precious. And it's important to remember in interpretation, If you are telling someone else's story, you have to get it right. I often used family members and friends as models. Here's my husband posing as Lewis of Lewis and Clark. Here he is again as 3 different Hudson Bay fur trappers. He's also been pioneers, cowboys, and almost everything else you can think of. Here he is again as Lewis. Telling the story of a place sometimes requires you to see it from a different perspective. I was hired to do a pretty large series of signs in Hell's Canyon, which is on the border of Oregon and Idaho, and it's where the Snake River runs right through the canyon. And this canyon is extremely significant ecologically. It is unique in the world, really, because it's so deep that it has all these different mini climates as you go from the bottom to the top, where it starts out quite warm in the bottom and gets colder the further you get up. And this results in an enormous amount of biodiversity, meaning lots and lots of different kinds of species of plants and animals. And many plants that evolved inside the canyon became so unique and specialized because they were cut off geographically, isolated in this canyon. And there are many species that live there that are found nowhere else on Earth. And when I got this project, I was so excited. I looked forward to interpreting the fascinating story of all these plants and animals. So I took my site visit and I met with my clients, and there was a group of about 9 of them, I think. And they were mostly Forest Service staff, and most of them had lived in this very remote and kind of isolated and really challenging climate and hard place to live. And most of them had lived there for their whole lives, some of them for generations back. And they told me that they wanted to tell the story of the people of Hell's Canyon. They told me that the thing that makes Hell's Canyon special are the people. The Native Americans that had lived there since forever, the settlers, the ranchers, the sheep herders, all these people that have been living there and making their living in this really difficult place for all these years. And when I got researching on this project, I found it was an extremely rich and interesting history. As part of the project, I interviewed a local cattle rancher and his wife who had lived there all their lives and ranched in this incredibly challenging, steep landscape. And he told me so many things about what it's like to be a rancher. And he had some beautiful and very poetic things to say about the ranching life. And I tried to capture that in my artwork. And I used the quote of his words on the sign. Another common interpretive theme is history. Many small towns and cities are improving their parks and public areas by interpreting the history of their places and the families that live there and their early commerce. This is one in Bend, Oregon. These are a couple in Kent, Washington. A lot of them use historic photos. A lot of these little towns have these fascinating historical societies that are just rich with all these wonderful images that tell the stories of these places. And for some projects, I try to interpret changes in the landscape over time to help people adapt and understand. The sequence on the right is interpreting for people why they are seeing the trees die in this park. And so I'm trying to take them through time to show how the changes are really quite natural and beneficial, because a lot of people were going to the park department and telling them they wanted the beavers taken out. But actually, the beavers are a key part of the ecology. Zoom in on the beaver lodge. I often hope to change minds when people misunderstand things. Beavers, for example, can be an asset for nature and for people. Sometimes a sign helps answer a question, like this one along a trail in Eastern Washington. People are wondering, why are these trees cut here? Or they may wonder, who chewed up these fir cones? Or what made these marks on the hillside? So in conclusion, interpretation has given me the opportunity to zero in to the intricate connections in nature, revealing hidden relationships, telling the story of a place, whether it's big or small, and finding the wonder in the world. It's been an enormous privilege for me to have this career that has taught me so much about the world. And if you're wondering why I'm speaking in the past tense, it's because I've completed my last sign project and I'm now happily retired. But I'm not done with art and writing, not by a long shot. I'm currently completing the illustrations for a young adult adventure novel that I wrote. A life spent in art is really a good life. Thank you.